25 years ago today, a tragedy that changed Maine. The Logan Marr case. A 5-year-old girl named Logan Marr died in a basement in Chelsea. Her foster mother, Sally Ann Schofield, a former state caseworker, bound her with duct tape and left her to suffocate. For the people of Maine, Logan's death was a catastrophic failure. A child in state care, a system meant to protect her, had catastrophically failed. Schofield was convicted of manslaughter in 2002. Her case became a PBS Frontline documentary exposing failures in Maine's child protection system to the nation. But from that tragedy came change. Maine overhauled its child welfare procedures. The state made family placement a higher priority, strengthened oversight, and reformed how caseworkers evaluate foster placements. These protections now work to shield vulnerable children across the state. Until tomorrow, I'm Brian Sullivan.